Thanks for joining us on Parlance. This is Bloomberg Quint. I'm Harsha Subramaniam.
Good afternoon. I'm Meera Dugal. Let's get you the headlines. Nifty and the Sensex give up some morning gains to trade 0.4% higher. Oil retailers rise.
Zydus Wellness and Cadila Healthcare will jointly acquire 100% stake in Heinz for 4,595 crore.
6 global investors, including the likes of Warburg Pincus, Temasek and SoftBank, will pump in $1.26 billion into Airtel Africa.
And ArcelorMittal will have to shell out 42,000 crore for Essar Steel. More than 95% will have to be paid upfront, sources tell Bloomberg News.
And Kotak Mahindra Bank posts a 15% profit growth in the September quarter. Asset quality remains stable.
The government sends CBI director and special director on leave, hands over investigations to the CVC.
All right, let's first start with the look at the markets. Neeraj is here as always. Afternoon, Neeraj.
Afternoon, guys. Well, doing okay. We actually started off about 1% higher and then came off. So crude cooling off naturally has a positive sentimental impact, and it showed an early morning trade. Post that, a bit of a cool off to about 0.25%. Currently trading at about 0.5% higher for the benchmark indices. So the intraday has its jagged edges. Oil marketing companies started off reasonably well. HPCL in particular, remember, had gained about 4% in trade yesterday, so adds another 3% to itself. And the BP and IOC as well, reasonably okay in the session today. Naturally so, OMCs by and large have had a good start. ONGC started about a couple of percentage points higher as well. In fact, at a point of time, we had all 50 Nifty stocks in the green. But now, just cooling off ever so marginally in the session today. All eyes will be out on what some of the IT names are doing, because they were the principal culprits for the last 3 or 4 sessions. Nifty IT under pressure for the last few days, with Infosys, TCS and the likes coming off. And in today's session too, for a brief moment, while played a significant part in pulling the index down. Just 2 or 3 names that I want to highlight individually. Sasken Communication, Sasken Tech rather, yet another mid-cap IT name. Numbers lower than what the street was working with, and double-digit gains. So after Mindtree and Persistent Systems falling about double digits post the earnings commentary, this is one more stock that has come off in the session today. So do watch out for Sasken Tech, 11 or 12% off in trade. And the aviation companies, ahead of Interglobe Aviation's numbers, Indigo is trading in the green because of the crude cool-off, but it's cooled off, but it's come off from the highs of the day as well. 806 currently lying absolutely flat, ahead of what will arguably be its first quarter when it is reporting losses. We'll get to know about it post-market hours, of course, but do watch out for Interglobe Aviation numbers as well.
Yes, thank you for that. Let's talk about Bharti Airtel now. Airtel will raise about $1.25 billion from a clutch of investors by diluting its stake in its Africa unit. The deal values the Africa business at about $4.4 billion. Somit is standing by with some contours of this deal.
Well, if you see, Bharti Airtel will be raising close to $1.25 billion by selling stake in its profitable African business. Now, foreign investors like Warburg Pincus, Temasek, Central, SoftBank Group and 2 others will be investing in the African unit by subscribing to new shares. Now, the company will use the proceeds to repay the $5 billion of existing debt on the African books, and some of this fresh issue will also be used for growth of the African operations. Now, Bharti Airtel post this will also do an IPO of the African unit in the next 1 year, and the proceeds from that IPO will also be used by the company to reduce its debt. Now, post the transaction, the entire equity value of Bharti Airtel's African unit will be close to $4.4 billion. Now, according to our calculation, the enterprise value to EBITDA of the deal would be close to 7.5 times if we consider the last 12 months EBITDA, which is largely in line with the other listed peers. Now, the enterprise value of listed peers of Bharti Airtel in Africa like Maroc Telecom, MTN Group, Vodacom Group, Safaricom, now they trade at 4 to 8 times at 2019 EBITDA. So this deal is largely in line with its peers. Now, Bharti Airtel would dilute nearly 1/3 of its stake by this fundraising. Now, post this transaction, Bharti Airtel is expected to own close to 65% in its African unit, while the remaining 35% will be owned by this new investors and also by the minority shareholders. Now, this fresh infusion was needed by Bharti Airtel to control its rising debt and the leverage scenario. Now, if you see in the last 4 quarters, the company's debt has been steadily rising, and as of the June quarter, its debt was close to 1,02,000 crore rupees, while its leverage ratio was at an all-time high of around 3.6 times. Lastly, some details about the African unit. Now, the Africa business has seen some strong growth for Airtel in the last 9 quarters. The unit has close to 9 9 crore subscribers, and the ARPU is close to 197 rupees. Now, the revenue generated from the African business is a little more than 20,000 crore rupees for the last 12 months ending June, while the profits have grown for African unit on the back of the cost-saving initiatives that the company had taken. Lastly, it has nearly doubled its EBITDA in the last 9 quarters from $155 million in the first quarter of financial year 2017. It has now increased to $289 million for Bharti Airtel, while the margins have expanded to 36.4% from 20.6% reported by the company in the first quarter of financial year 2017.
All right, Saman, thanks so much for that. Zydus Wellness and Cadila Healthcare will pay a little more than 4,500 crore to buy Heinz India from Kraft. This gives Zydus Wellness brands like Complan, Glucon-D and Nycil in India. PR Sanjay of Bloomberg News joins us with more details. Sanjay, this deal's been in the works for some time.
Yeah, this deal is in the works for some time, and now the 4 brands, leading brands, one is Nycil, Sampriti, Glucon-D and Complan, are now off from Heinz India Private Limited, and Zydus Wellness would be acquiring them. And for them, it's like it makes a lot of sense, because if you see Everyouth or Sugar Free or Nutrilite, they have brands strong presence in foods, nutrition and skincare, etc. So this goes well with them, and it's tough fight. Finally, they get the Kraft Heinz, one of the trusted, well-known brand which have strong recall. It's now Zydus Wellness is the Complan boy.
Do we know if there was a longer bidding race for this, or whether the only guys to pick this up?
So there was longer bidding race indeed. You would recall that Glaxo was also in the market with selling Horlicks. So it was actually seller's market. So Zydus had better say in the valuation. And now Zydus will not be bidding this alone. They will be partnering with few PE players, and they are talking to at least 4 private equity players, and they will be bidding along with that, because to get this deal they need a lot of might, and of course they got huge backing from private equity players as well.
Let's listen into Sharvil Patel, the chairman of Zydus Wellness, on what he had to say on this deal.
Cadila Healthcare owns the majority stake in Zydus Wellness of 72.5%. If you look at last 10-12 years, Cadila Healthcare through the creation of Zydus Wellness in 2009 when it was listed, it has created 22% increase in market cap for the Zydus Wellness company. There is a great benefit and potential for creation of following Zydus Wellness, following this acquisition. And more importantly, it is not going to be a significant amount of money that is going to be pushed in by Cadila Healthcare. It will be relatively small to the overall transaction, and most of it will be funded by Zydus Wellness.
Okay, that's the deal with Zydus Wellness and Heinz. Let's move on. Essar Steel's lenders are in the process of finalizing the bid from ArcelorMittal. They're voting on the 42,000 crore offer. Saloni Shukla, Bloomberg News, joins us with a breakup of the offer and what that really entails. Saloni.
Harsha, so if you look at this whole bidding process, Supreme Court had allowed lenders to go ahead and discuss on the second offer that ArcelorMittal had made on April of 2nd. So that was 35,000 crore plus 8,000 crore of fund infusion. In between, ArcelorMittal had said that they would make a 42,000 crore upfront offer. After that, they have tweaked the deal a bit. What they are now saying is that they would make a 39,500 crore upfront payment to lenders, plus a 2,500 crore retained earnings in Essar will also be distributed to lenders. Apart from that, a 8,000 crore fund infusion will be made to the company. They have also proposed to give 2,000 crore for the Odisha slurry pipeline, which is very important for the Essar Steel plant, but lenders are taking that matter separately because it is under litigation right now. They are voting on the fresh proposal, and the total offer right now is coming at about 50,000 crore. Operational creditors, licensing fees and all will be dealt with separately once Arcelor acquires the company. But this looks like a total go-go for lenders, because they are almost recovering all of the principal amount as far as Essar Steel is concerned.
What was the creditor amount that was due?
So there was about 49,000 crore of total dues that were made to the NCLT, which also included the operational creditors. So it was roughly about 40,000 crore.
All right, that's good news for the banks once it's come through. Thanks so much, Saloni, for that story. Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas has withdrawn an earlier report which had cleared Chanda Kocher's name from charges of nepotism and conflict of interest. The legal firm, which had submitted its report in 2016, claiming that it had found no evidence against Chanda Kocher, who was then CEO and MD of ICICI Bank, said that the report is no longer valid in light of the new whistleblower allegations that have since come to the light. The statement was issued by the bank to exchanges and to Bloomberg Quint yesterday.
Let's talk about earnings. Kotak Mahindra Bank meets estimates with a strong profit growth in the September quarter. Asset quality has also remained stable. Shraddha is here with the fine print of Kotak's numbers.
Right, so broadly overall, the numbers do seem to be in line with estimates. NII growth of about 16.3%, net profit growth of nearly 15% to 1141 crores. The net interest margin has dipped or contracted by about 10 basis points on a sequential basis. The operating profit growth has come in at a sharper 21%. That's been aided by other income. We saw strong 25% growth in the fee income. Provisions on a sequential basis were lower at 353 crores and the provisions towards M2M losses has come in at 132 crores in this quarter as compared to 210 crores in the June ended quarter, so lower than the previous quarter as was expected. On the growth front, loan growth has come in at 21%, where the retail book growth has been strong at 27-28%. Corporate book growth on the other side has moderated a bit, has come in at about 17%. If you look at the asset quality numbers, the gross NPA is steady at 2.15%. In terms of the absolute number, also the GNPA has gone up by about 5% on a sequential basis. Capital adequacy ratio is at a high of 18% now, and there has been some marginal reduction in the SMA2 outstanding from about 180 or 90 crores to 165 crores in this quarter now. More importantly, they've shared exposures to the two key sectors. Their exposure to NBFCs, they say, is at about 5.2% of the book, and to commercial real estate is at 3.1% of the book. Out of that 3.1% towards commercial real estate, 1.3% is about lease rental discounting. So those are the numbers that we have. Two more most important factors that we will be watching out for. I don't have the number for the SME business performance or growth in this quarter. Remember, the management had flagged off concerns in this segment. So our comments with respect to what has been happening in this segment is what is going to be important to watch out for. The press conference, of course, is only later after 4:30. And the second thing, or most important thing, is going to be the plan for bringing down the promoter stake, if at all they do share anything on that.
All right, Shraddha, thanks for that. Interglobe Aviation may post the first ever loss since listing, as rising costs and low airfares create a perfect storm of sorts for the country's largest airline. Somit Sarkar is standing by with what the street is expecting. Somit.
So if you see the headline numbers for Indigo, now the revenue is expected to be higher by nearly 23% to close to 6,500 crore rupees, while the EBITDA, now that is expected to decline by nearly 57% to close to 665 crore rupees. Margins are expected to contract to nearly 10%, while the company is expected to report a net loss for the very first time since listing of close to 470 crore rupees, as against a net profit of 552 crore rupees reported by the company in last year. Now, three factors that led to that could lead to such a weak financial for Indigo. First is the fall in ticket prices, second is weaker rupee, and third is higher fuel prices. Now, analysts are expecting the average ticket prices to be lower by around 3% for Indigo, while rupee has depreciated by nearly 9% in the September ended quarter. Fuel prices were higher by nearly 41%. So the combination of these three factors are expected to lead to a weak quarter for Indigo. Now, the only surprising factor for Indigo in the second quarter could be the Pratt & Whitney compensations that the company has been receiving in the last quarter. So we'll have to watch out for if they have received any compensations from Pratt & Whitney in this form. Lastly, key things to watch out for would include the volume growth and yield numbers that the company will be giving, induction of a new aircraft that the company has done in the second quarter, and any updates on the neo engine issues that the company gives will be a key thing to watch out for. Along with this, fuel price guidance and updates on the future plans on long distance international routes will be the key things to watch out for.
All right, hold the thought, Somit. You've also been tracking Bharti Infratel. That's going to be coming out in numbers today. The Vodafone Idea merger will have marginal impact on the numbers, it seems. What is the street anticipating this time?
So the quarter is expected to be weak for the tower company on the back of the consolidation. Now if you see the headline numbers for Bharti Infratel, revenue is expected to fall by nearly 2.4% to close to 3,600 crore rupees, while EBITDA, now that is expected to decline by nearly 5% to close to 1,400 crore rupees. Margins are also expected to contract to nearly 40.4%, while net profit is expected to fall by nearly 5% to close to 605 crore rupees. Now the key number for Bharti Infratel, that is the tenancy ratio, that is expected to come in at around 1.93 times. Now this will be the first time in the last 18 quarters where the tenancy ratio of Bharti Infratel would fall below 2 times. Now this will be on the back of the Vodafone Idea merger. Now as the merger was completed during the quarter, the merged entity had cancelled nearly 27,000 tenancies with effect from September 1st. So the financial will see only 1 month of impact, while the full quarter impact will come in the next quarter. Now energy spreads for Bharti Infratel are expected to remain, is expected to increase compared to last quarter. Lastly, key things to watch out for in the Bharti Infratel earnings would be management commentary on further tenancy impact, update on the merger with Indus Towers, and outlook on the tenancy growth would be the key thing to watch out for.
Thanks for that, Sumit. Bajaj Auto is among the last two-wheeler makers to report second quarter earnings. The sharp rise in volumes may be offset by discounts and higher commodity costs. Yatin Mota has the details.
Well, if you look at Bajaj Auto, we are expecting a strong 21% growth in the overall revenues. Of course, that is driven by a 25% growth in the volumes that we saw in the quarter. More importantly, we saw 33% growth in the export, market sales. However, because of higher commodity costs and lower realizations, we could see the EBITDA growing by only 6%. However, if you look at the profits, they also are expected to be, on almost a flat kind of a number in terms of delivery at 1,140 crores. Margins also for Bajaj Auto seen at 17.4% versus a level of 19.7%. So clearly margins would be under pressure as the product mix has deteriorated for Bajaj Auto, like the other auto companies which have reported numbers so far. Of course, the key issues to watch out for, apart from the earnings, would be the management commentary on the two-wheeler demand, especially in the rural markets due to the onset of the festive season, and also, what is the outlook on export markets given the fact that commodity prices and oil prices have been, higher, which means that the export markets are doing, extremely well in terms of the economics. So let's see how really Bajaj Auto delivers their second quarter earnings, which should be out anytime the next, 1.5 hours.
Yes, thank you for that. Retail inflation has remained well within RBI's target range over the past few months, despite rising oil prices. The reason? Food inflation has remained too low. This is unlikely to change in the near term, with the government estimates showing that Kharif output will be at a record high. Pallavi Nahata has reports on the outlook for food inflation.
Prices of several food items are now increasing too slowly, leaving policymakers confused and farmers distressed. Low food inflation may persist for the remainder of this year, driven by strong output seen during the Kharif season, along with an absence of the seasonal rise in food prices. The first advance estimates released by the Agricultural Ministry at the end of September shows that production of Kharif crops is expected to hit 141.59 million, 0.86 million tons higher than last year. In particular, production of rice, sugarcane and oilseeds is seen higher than last year. The output of key pulses, which has surged over the last few years, remains high, albeit lower than last year. A report by HDFC states that the downside surprises in food inflation can largely be attributed to 4 components: vegetables, sugar, pulses and milk. The resulting trend is that supply growth appears to have outstripped the pace at which demand has been rising. Additionally, globally depressed commodity prices have restricted the market for agricultural exports for several years. Distressed selling in response to temporary oversupply factors too appears to have been one of the key reasons for decline in food inflation. At present, the market prices of a number of Kharif crops are prevailing at or slightly below the support prices. While all of these may have helped keep overall inflation in check and allow policymakers to keep interest rates on hold, it could reignite concerns about distress in parts of India's rural economy. In July this year, the government announced relatively steep increases in the minimum support price for most Kharif crops after a few years of very modest hikes. However, the ability of higher MSPs to translate into relief for the farm sector depends on the amount of procurement the government chooses to do.
It's probably the first time since the Central Bureau of Investigation was set up that two of its most senior officers have been suspended. The Modi government has sent CBI Director Alok Verma and Special Director Rakesh Asthana on leave. Officers who were reporting directly to the two of them have also been asked to stay away from work. Nageshwar Rao has been given interim charge of the investigative agency. The investigative agency has sealed 2 floors at its own headquarters and are carrying out searches. Let's first hear out the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley responding to this unprecedented situation.
The Central Bureau of Investigation is the premier investigative agency, and the maintenance of its institutional integrity is a precondition. It's absolutely essential. एक विचित्र और दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण स्थिति पैदा हुई है। स्पेशल डायरेक्टर का एक आरोप डायरेक्टर के ऊपर है। सीबीआई का आरोप स्पेशल डायरेक्टर के ऊपर है। तो सीबीआई के 2 बड़े अधिकारी, सबसे बड़े अधिकारी जो हैं, उन दोनों पे आरोप है। अब इसकी जांच कौन करेगा? The requirements of fairness and fair play have to be there. ये सरकार के अधिकार क्षेत्र में नहीं आता। सरकार उसकी जांच नहीं कर सकती और न करेगी। सीबीआई का जो एक्ट है, उस कानून के तहत सेंट्रल विजिलेंस कमीशन के पावर्स अधिकार है। सेक्शन 4(1) में पावर ऑफ सुपरिटेंडेंस इन रिलेशन टू इन्वेस्टिगेटिव फंक्शंस। तो सीबीआई की इन्वेस्टिगेशंस के संबंध में जो सुपरिटेंडेंस का अधिकार है, वो सेंट्रल विजिलेंस कमीशन का है।
Upamanyu Trivedi of Bloomberg News now joins us for more. Upamanyu, what's the latest? And it looks like this is going to go to the Supreme Court by Friday.
Yes, that's correct. Within 24 hours, all 3 tiers of judiciary have got involved in this infighting within the CBI is number 1 and number 2. As we know, yesterday, CBI's Special Director Rakesh Asthana had moved the trial court and subsequently the High Court against the FIR which had been filed against him. The High Court had given him protection in terms of giving him a status quo which protected him from arrest. But as we also know that late night government issued an order which took CBI's number 1 Alok Verma off from duty. Now, as soon as the Supreme Court opened today, Alok Verma's lawyers moved the Supreme Court by mentioning it before a 3-judge bench led by Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi and bringing it to the judge's notice that a late-night order had, in all practicality, removed him from his post. He argued that he also brought it to the court's notice that several of his officers were also transferred. He, in a way, got relief from the court as the court has agreed to grant him an urgent hearing on Friday. He had not even been able to file the appeal because the court had just opened at 10:30, and he said he would be filing the appeal through the day. And lawyers tell us that it was in fact a Supreme Court judgment in 1997 in the Vineet Narayan case which protected a CBI director's position from removal for 2 years. And that is the refuge which Alok Verma has been taking in his plea to Supreme Court, that he should not have been removed in the manner the government did. And as we just heard, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley also gave his opinion, and in a way government's opinion on what the government thinks. He said they have been removed only to ensure that impartiality of the probe of the whole matter is maintained and the institutional integrity of the premier investigating agency of the country is maintained.
Upamanyu, many thanks for joining us and putting that in context. On the other hand, now, senior advocate Prashant Bhushan has questioned the government's appointment of Nageshwar Rao, saying that the new interim CBI director himself has multiple complaints against him. Listen in.
in order to protect Mr. Rakesh Asthana and perhaps in order to prevent an investigation into the Rafale deal, the government has last night at midnight ordered the removal of the present director, Shri Alok Verma, and has appointed one Mr. Nageshwar Rao as the acting director, despite the fact that Nageshwar Rao had several serious complaints against him, which were inquired into by the present director, by the Mr. Alok Verma, who had apparently recommended his removal from the CBI as well as his prosecution. But despite that, because of the present CVC, he was apparently protected, and today he has been appointed the acting director. Now, we are certainly going to challenge all this. Our petition hopefully should be filed by tomorrow. But meanwhile, we learned today that the Mr. Alok Verma has himself filed a petition in the Supreme Court regarding some of these things, which was mentioned today before the Chief Justice, and the Chief Justice has directed that it will be heard day after tomorrow.
Out of time on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good news, guys.